You've felt it, haven't you? That strange electric hum beneath the noise of everyday life. That moment of déjà vu, so vivid it feels like a memory replaying itself. That uncanny coincidence, a synchronicity so perfect it seems scripted by an invisible playwright. That intuitive pull towards a person or a place that your rational mind cannot explain. A whisper from a deeper part of you that knows the way. Modern science has neat, tidy labels for these experiences. Déjà vu is a memory error, a brief glitch in the brain's filing system. Synchronicity is apophenia, the human tendency to see patterns in random noise. Intuition is a subconscious calculation, a rapid processing of data just below the threshold of awareness. These explanations are clean, safe, and they keep reality comfortably contained within a predictable box. But what if they are wrong? What if these moments are not glitches in your system, but glimpses through the system? What if they are not errors, but signals from a higher bandwidth reality, faint echoes of your own consciousness operating on a frequency that transcends the solid, predictable world you see around you? What if you are, right now, living in higher dimensions without even knowing it, perceiving them only as these fleeting, mysterious interruptions in the broadcast of ordinary life? We have all been born into a story, a carefully constructed cage for the human spirit. It's a story about separation, of cause and effect, of a universe made of dead matter governed by cold, immutable laws. We are told we are nouns, static, isolated beings trapped in a linear timeline, fighting for survival against a world that is fundamentally other. Every institution, from education to the economy, is built upon this foundation of struggle and separation. But the mystics, the sages, the keepers of forgotten knowledge from every great tradition, they all told a different story. They spoke of reality not as a collection of things, but as a symphony of frequencies. They described the cosmos not as a machine, but as a great mind. And they insisted that the human soul is not a noun, but a verb, an infinite process, a becoming, a consciousness capable of tuning its own awareness to any note in that cosmic orchestra. What we are about to explore isn't just a forgotten philosophy. It's a key to recalibrating the very lens through which you perceive reality. It's a map that suggests you are not just a resident of this world, but a citizen of the cosmos, already home in a reality far grander, more intelligent, and more responsive than you were ever led to believe. And the first step is to understand the nature of the broadcast itself. To truly grasp the shift that is underway, we must first perform a kind of conceptual surgery on our understanding of a dimension. We are conditioned to see it as a physical measurement, like the length, width, and height of a room. This definition, while useful for building houses, is tragically insufficient for mapping the architecture of consciousness. It is like describing a symphony by providing the chemical composition of the violin's varnish. It is a fact, but it is a fact that has completely missed the music. In the esoteric traditions, a dimension is not a physical location, but a state of being. It is a comprehensive operating system for reality, a set of fundamental laws and perceptions that dictates the very grammar of existence. You do not go to another dimension, you begin to operate from it. The world you experience every day, the one that feels so solid and unchangeable, is the output of what we can call the third-dimensional operating system. It is the default setting for the human experience, a powerful and immersive program that has shaped every aspect of our civilization. The core code of this 3D OS is the logic of separation. Its primary function is to create the perception that you are a fragment, an isolated ego, a flicker of consciousness locked inside a biological machine, looking out through your eyes at a universe that is fundamentally not you. This sense of separation is the root of all fear, for if you are separate, you can be threatened, you can be judged, and you can be alone. It casts you as a castaway on the island of your own self, forever striving to build bridges to other islands, never quite believing that a single unified continent lies just beneath the surface of the water. This OS processes time in a strictly linear fashion. Time in the third dimension is the tyranny of the clock. It is a relentless conveyor belt moving in one direction only. The past is a collection of unchangeable ghosts that haunt or comfort you. The future is an uncertain fog of anxieties and hopes, and the present moment is a razor's edge so thin you can never truly stand upon it. This perception of time is not a passive observation. It is the engine of struggle. If what you desire is always over there in the future, then you have no choice but to push, to fight, and to expend immense effort against the present moment to get there. It is a system designed for the chase. The user interface for this system is the ego. The ego is the identity you build from external data. Your name, your job, your relationships, your possessions, your history, and what other people think of you. It is a necessary tool for navigating the 3D world, but we have mistaken the user profile for the user itself. Because it is built from external, shifting pieces, the ego is inherently unstable, constantly seeking validation and fearing its own dissolution. But this dense, challenging, and often painful operating system is not the only one available. Coexisting with it, right here, right now, is another frequency, another logic. The fifth-dimensional operating system is not an upgrade you must earn. It is the system your soul was running before it chose to boot up the 3D experience. Its core code is not separation, but unity. It is the direct, lived experience of what the Neoplatonists called the anima mundi, the world soul. This is the profound understanding that the universe is not a collection of disconnected objects, but a single, living, intelligent consciousness, and that you are not a drop in that ocean, but the entire ocean expressing itself in a single drop. In the 5D OS, the tyranny of linear time dissolves. Time reveals itself not as a line, but as a field, a vast holographic landscape where every potential past, every possible future, and every alternate present coexists as a vibrational possibility right now. You are not a traveler being dragged along a single road. You are standing in the center of this infinite landscape, and your point of focus, your state of being, determines which scenery renders itself into your experience. This is the great reversal of cosmic law. You stop chasing a future, and instead, you start transmitting the frequency of the future you desire, allowing that reality to be drawn to you through the law of resonance. Creation ceases to be an act of brute force. It becomes an act of elegant, magnetic alignment. The user of this system is not the fragile ego, but the higher self. Its identity is not derived from the outside world, but from its own unshakable, internal connection to Source. It does not need to chase validation, because it knows its own inherent worth. It navigates reality not by fearful calculation, but by the clear signal of intuition, that quiet, powerful whisper that is the voice of the world soul itself, speaking from within you. Understanding these two systems is like finally being handed the manual to a game you have been playing your entire life without instructions. You begin to see that the rules you thought were absolute are merely the settings of a specific difficulty level, and with this knowledge, you are no longer just a player. You are gaining access to the developer's console. This revolutionary idea that reality is a function of consciousness is not a product of New Age wishful thinking. It is a golden thread woven through the very fabric of our planet's most profound spiritual and philosophical traditions. It is a secret that was never truly secret, merely hidden in plain sight, veiled in the language of myth, symbol, and allegory, waiting for a consciousness ready to decipher it. Consider the foundational axiom from the Kybalion, a text claiming to distill the wisdom of ancient Hermeticism. The all is mind, the universe is mental. For centuries, this has been interpreted as a philosophical abstraction, a poetic metaphor. But what if it is the most direct and literal description of reality ever written? What if it is not a philosophy, but a physics? If the fundamental substance of the universe is a form of infinite living consciousness, then the physical world, the stars, the stones, the very cells of your body, is not a separate creation. It is a thought form held within that cosmic mind. This single principle is the master key that unlocks the logic of the fifth dimension. If the universe is mental, then our own minds are not isolated generators of thought. They are transmitting and receiving terminals, focal points through which the universal mind experiences and organizes itself. This idea is echoed in the principle of correspondence. As above, so below, as below, so above. This is not just a mystical rhyming couplet, it is the formula for holographic reality. It asserts that the patterns of the macrocosm, the great universal order, are perfectly replicated in the microcosm of the individual human being. Your inner world is not a random collection of personal thoughts and feelings. It is a miniature, fully functional model of the entire cosmos. Therefore, to change your inner world is, by an inexorable law of cosmic physics, to change the reflection you perceive as the outer world. You are not changing the world, You are choosing which version of the universal hologram you wish to project. The Vedic sages of ancient India perceived this same truth through a different lens, speaking of Maya, the grand illusion. They taught that the world of separate forms and names is a kind of divine dream, a spellbinding cosmic play. The goal of life, from this perspective, is not to succeed within the play, but to awaken to the fact that you are the dreamer. The state of samadhi, or enlightenment, is the moment the dreamer recognizes their own consciousness as the screen upon which the entire drama is unfolding. No one in the modern era has translated this ancient power into a practical, usable technology of the soul more incisively than the 20th century mystic Neville Goddard. Stripping away all the religious dogma and esoteric jargon, Neville presented the raw, creative mechanism with stunning clarity. His central thesis was that the human imagination is not a faculty for fantasy or escapism. It is God in action. It is the very creative power that forged the universe, operating through you. The key to using this power, he taught, was not to wish or to hope, but to assume the feeling of the wish already fulfilled. By generating the authentic internal feeling of a desired reality as if it is already a present tense fact, you are impressing a new pattern onto the substance of the universal mind. You are, in his words, moving into a different state. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are, and your sustained inner state of being is what you are vibrationally in any given moment. Even our modern sciences, often unintentionally, are beginning to stumble upon the physical fingerprints of this ancient law. The HeartMath Institute has conducted remarkable research demonstrating that the human heart generates a powerful electromagnetic field that changes its shape and informational content based on our emotions. When we experience feelings of compassion, love, or gratitude, this field becomes highly coherent and ordered, extending several feet from the body. This field is not a passive aura, it is an active transmitting antenna. While science hesitates to draw metaphysical conclusions, is it not plausible that this measurable, coherent field is the very mechanism through which our inner state interacts with and informs the quantum soup of possibilities around us? The mystics called it prayer or focused intention. Perhaps we are simply rediscovering the same force and calling it biofield coherence. We are charting the coastline of a continent that the ancients had already mapped in its entirety. They understood that the most advanced technology on Earth is not made of silicon or steel, but is the focused, disciplined, and coherent human consciousness. When a computer undergoes a massive operating system update, it doesn't happen silently in the background. The machine often slows down, the screen may flicker, old programs become incompatible, and a full restart is required. The process of human consciousness shifting from the 3D to the 5D operating system is no different. It is not an abstract, intellectual event. It is a full-body, psycho-spiritual recalibration, and it comes with a host of tangible, often bewildering symptoms. To the uninitiated, these signs can feel like a breakdown, but to the mystery hunter, they are recognized for what they are, the unmistakable evidence of a profound awakening. The first and most common sign is a dramatic increase in physical and energetic sensitivity. It is as if your entire nervous system is being upgraded from a dial-up modem to a fiber optic cable. Suddenly, the noise of the world becomes deafening. Crowded places, which were once merely busy, now feel like a chaotic assault on your energy field. You may find yourself becoming acutely sensitive to the quality of light, the chemicals in food, or the dissonant frequencies of mainstream media. This is not a weakness. It is a sign that your senses are expanding their bandwidth. You are beginning to perceive the subtle, energetic information that lies just beneath the surface of the physical world. You are no longer just hearing words. You are feeling the intention behind them. You are no longer just seeing a room. You are reading its energetic history. This recalibration profoundly affects the physical body as it works to release decades of stored energetic density. You might experience sudden waves of fatigue that feel bone deep, a need for more sleep than ever before. This is your system going offline to integrate the massive amounts of new data. Conversely, you might find yourself waking up consistently at the same time in the middle of the night, often between 2 and 4 a.m. Esoteric traditions view this window as a time when the veil between dimensions is thinnest, a sacred interval for your higher self to download new codes and instructions into your consciousness without the interference of the ego mind. You may also notice your dietary preferences changing overnight. A sudden aversion to heavy processed foods and a strong craving for clean, light, high-vibrational nourishment is the body's innate intelligence speaking, intuitively seeking the fuel that matches its new, higher frequency. Unexplained aches, pains, and even flu-like symptoms that come and go without a clear medical cause can be the physical manifestation of old, trapped emotional energies and traumas finally being purged from your cellular memory. The emotional body undergoes an equally intense purification. You may experience sudden, powerful waves of emotion that seem to come from nowhere. A deep, inexplicable sadness might wash over you, only to be replaced by a moment of sublime, childlike joy an hour later. This is not instability. This is the great emotional detox. Old, suppressed feelings from this life, and perhaps others, are rising to the surface not to be relived in drama, but to be acknowledged, felt, and finally released. It is the ghost data of your old operating system being cleared from the hard drive, and as this inner world transforms, your outer world cannot help but follow suit. This is where the recalibration often feels most disruptive. Relationships that were built upon the foundations of your old self, foundations of dependency, of shared wounds, of unspoken contracts, begin to feel energetically intolerable. Conversations that once felt normal now seem painfully superficial, a form of small talk that your soul can no longer endure. You find yourself drifting away from friends, family members, or partners, often not because of a specific conflict, but because of an undeniable vibrational dissonance. It is one of the most painful yet liberating laws of this transition. You cannot take everyone with you. Each soul is on its own sovereign journey, and trying to force a connection that no longer resonates is like trying to run outdated software on a new machine. It will only crash the system. Consequently, you will feel an overwhelming, non-negotiable need for solitude. This is not a sign of depression or antisocial behavior. It is a sacred requirement for integration. It is the chrysalis phase, where the caterpillar must be alone and undisturbed to dissolve its old form and reassemble itself into something entirely new. You are pulling your energy back from a world that no longer fits, to give your system the space to complete its magnificent and often chaotic transformation. These are not signs that you are broken or lost. They are the telltale signs of a soul in the throes of remembering itself. They are the growing pains of divinity. We have been navigating this entire exploration, this entire map of consciousness, with one fundamental, almost invisible assumption. It is a story so deeply embedded in our collective spiritual narrative that we rarely think to question it. The story is this, that we are fundamentally 3D beings, fallen, flawed, or simply young souls, engaged in a slow, arduous, evolutionary climb towards a distant, higher state. We see ascension as a goal, a destination, a spiritual pinnacle to be achieved after lifetimes of struggle and learning. We are the climbers, and the fifth dimension is the summit. But what if this is the greatest illusion of them all? What if the entire story has been told not just backwards, but upside down? What if you are not a struggling human being aspiring to touch the face of God? What if you are, in your truest essence, a vast, ancient, multidimensional being of immense light and creative power, a 5D consciousness, who voluntarily chose to project a fragment of itself into the beautiful, brutal, amnesiac dream of the third dimension? Let that idea land. Let it detonate the very foundations of your perceived identity. This is no longer a journey of evolution, but a journey of remembrance, anamnesis, as Plato termed it in his allegory of the cave. The purpose of this life is not to learn to become something you are not, but to courageously remember what you have always eternally been. From this radical vantage point, the third dimension ceases to be a cosmic mistake, a punishment, or a prison to be escaped. It transforms into a grand arena, a meticulously designed full-immersion holographic simulator that your own soul chose to enter, a divine training ground. But for what conceivable purpose? Why would a being of limitless freedom and instantaneous creation choose to forget itself, to wrap itself in the dense, heavy cloak of matter and subject itself to the profound limitations of separation, linear time, and powerlessness? Perhaps for the same reason a master composer chooses to write a symphony using only a few notes, or a master painter chooses to create a masterpiece using a single color. Creation under profound constraint is the ultimate test and the ultimate expression of mastery. Imagine your soul, your true self, existing in a state of pure, unfiltered consciousness. In that 5D realm, the gap between intention and manifestation is zero. To think is to create. There is no resistance, no time delay, no friction to overcome. It is a state of magnificent, but perhaps predictable creative flow. But to create within the dense, slow and resistant medium of 3D reality, to hold the frequency of unconditional love while surrounded by a world screaming fear, to maintain a feeling of infinite abundance while your bank account reports scarcity, to remember your unbreakable unity with all life while every social structure enforces the illusion of separation, that is the Grandmaster's game. It is the art of forging a star in the heart of a black hole. This single shift in perspective completely revolutionizes our understanding of suffering. The challenges of your life, the heartbreaks, the failures, the periods of darkness and despair are no longer random misfortunes or cosmic punishments. They become self-chosen catalysts. They are the deliberate friction required for the soul to ignite its own light within the darkness. They are the immense pressure that turns the dull carbon of your human experience into the multifaceted diamond of your divine self. Every obstacle was not a barrier on your path. It was the path itself. The curriculum was not flawed. It was perfectly designed by you for you. This also explains the strange, almost gravitational pull of our earthly attachments and identities, and why the spiritual advice to let go can feel so impossibly difficult. We are not just battling a bad habit or a psychological fixation. We are attempting to override a core mission parameter. The mission's success depended on diving so deep, on forgetting so completely, that the act of remembering would be a true, earned, explosive revelation, not just a gentle intellectual realization. So the synchronicities, the intuitive nudges, the moments of wonder, the faint, haunting memory of a home you can't quite place, these are not signals from a distant heaven trying to rescue a fallen angel. They are breadcrumbs. Your own higher self, the part of you that never left the 5D, the part of you that is the architect of this entire simulation, leaving a trail for its courageous, forgetful human projection to follow back to itself. It is the dreamer, whispering clues into the ear of the character in its own dream. You are not the character. You are the dreamer. You are not a victim of the script. You are, and have always been, the author. And if this is true, then the most profound question you can ask is no longer, how do I escape this suffering? It becomes something far more challenging and infinitely more empowering. And so we arrive at the precipice of a truth so vast, it can feel like both a supreme liberation and a terrifying cosmic burden. If this world is not a fixed reality, but a holographic projection of consciousness, if our struggles are not random punishments, but a self-designed curriculum for mastery, and if our true nature is not that of a fragile human, but of a powerful, dreaming divinity, then the entire architecture of victimhood collapses. The reins of creation are placed firmly and irrevocably back into our own hands. Life ceases to be a passive experience, a haphazard sequence of events that happens to us. It becomes a conscious, deliberate, and moment-by-moment act of creation. The great mystery hunt, we now realize, was never about finding a lost city, a hidden grimoire, or an ancient relic. The final untamed frontier is not out there in the cosmos, but in here, within the infinite unexplored landscapes of our own consciousness. The ultimate mystery is the self. The real work is not to rage against the flickering shadows on the walls of Plato's cave, but to turn inward and become the master of the fire that casts them. It is the subtle yet immensely powerful discipline of choosing our frequency when the world presents us with every reason not to. It is the radical revolutionary act of feeling peace in the heart of the storm, of embodying a frequency of wholeness when our bodies feel broken, of knowing our unbreakable unity when the screens we stare at scream division. This is not a passive Pollyanna belief system. This is the most active, potent, and advanced form of creative physics in the universe. It is wielding the very power that forges stars and dreams galaxies into existence. Every thought you allow to take root in the garden of your mind, every emotion you choose to sustain and amplify within your heart, is not a private, fleeting, insignificant event. It is a cosmic broadcast. It is a vibrational signature, a powerful vote cast into the collective field, a resonant command that is impressed upon the fabric of the anima mundi, the living soul of the world, which has no choice but to reflect back to you the sum total of your sustained inner state. This recognition elevates our existence from a simple story of biological survival to a profound ongoing ethical challenge for eternity. It shatters the comfortable illusion that our inner world is separate from our outer actions. In this model of reality, your state of being is your ultimate action. Your frequency is your most profound contribution to the world. And this leaves us standing here, at the very center of our own created universe, stripped of all excuses, face to face with the final soul-shaking question: if your consciousness is indeed the paintbrush and the infinite field of potential is the canvas, if you are the author, the director, and the protagonist of your own story, the question is no longer what will happen to me or how do I escape this painting, but rather a question of immense creative responsibility. What masterpiece am I choosing to create right now with the sacred material of this very moment? What reality are you voting for? What world are you dreaming into being with the frequency you hold in your heart as you draw your next breath? The answer to that is the only secret, the only treasure, the only mystery truly worth hunting. If these ideas resonate with you, consider subscribing so we can continue this journey together. And that's our hunt for now, a wild mix of documented history and tantalizing what-ifs based on bibliographical sources. What do you think?